Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have another video here. It's a hidden horrors review, 2 this weekend. How crazy is that? At least so far. Maybe I'll have a couple of more. It depends on how some of the other films I plan on watching turn out. This is a review, though, for a film that I've loved quite a bit. I've wanted to see it again recently. My mom let me borrow her VHS tape, and just as good as I remember. I haven't seen it in like 10 years, but man, it was just as good as I remember, like I said. 1996's Fear, from the director of the second and third 50 Shades of Grey films, and the writer of The Last of the Mohicans from 1992. I haven't seen that film, but I know a lot of people love it, thought it was worth mentioning to you. This stars Reese Witherspoon as a teenager who falls in love with a mysterious, kind of sweet fella played by Mark Wahlberg, who turns out to be an absolute stalker and basket case. He's crazy as hell. She has a best friend played by Alyssa Milano, who I can't stand, but she's actually good in the movie. And her dad is William Peterson, of all people, aka the original Hannibal Lecter in a film called Manhunt that you probably don't know, but that was the original Red Dragon, I believe, or Silence of the Lambs, one of those. I think it's the original Red Dragon. But he's also Grissom from the CSI TV show, the OG CSI TV show. And I love that guy. He's a great actor. He deserves more props and love than he gets. Reese Witherspoon, I'm a huge fan. I love that chick. She is beautiful and she's funny and she's sweet. There's something about her that I've always liked. Every film I've ever seen her in, I've liked. Whether it be fucking Water for Elephants or it's something like this, she's always really good. Mark Wahlberg, I'm a really big Die Hard fan. I will watch anything he's in. I love the guy. And personally, I would argue this is the best performance I've ever seen out of Mark Wahlberg. At least from what I've seen of his career. For some reason, people look at films like the Martin Scorsese remake called The Departed and say that that is his best performance. I completely disagree. I think this is it. He is magnificent in this kind of crazy stalker boyfriend role. And to kind of talk about my Hidden Horrors series again, of course, this is a recommendation for hidden gem horror films, thriller movies that I'd recommend to you. And I previously talked about one, I think it was the third or fourth video I did in the Hidden Horrors playlist, in case you want to check that out on the channel, for a film with J-Lo. I think it was from the year 2000 or 2001, called Enough, where she plays an abused wife who's on the run with her kid, and her crazy-ass ex-husband is coming after her. If you love that film, and I would argue that film is more for adults, but it's definitely something teens could watch too, this is more of a teen-centric film, with Reese Witherspoon being like 16 or whatever. This is more of a teenager movie, but it's really good, and it's got this 90s soundtrack that is just fantastic. It fits the movie so well. Everything about this movie is a blast, and if you loved J-Lo's Enough movie that I recommended to a lot of you guys for the more realistic kind of thriller thing, if you liked that, this is way up your alley. This is something you should totally check out if you haven't heard of it before. And personally, aside from one really messy CGI scene at the end of the movie, it made me laugh out loud this time around because I had forgotten about it. The film itself is very realistic about just kind of crazy, toxic relationships and how insane some people are, and kind of the family of Reese Witherspoon seeing the hints and the red flags that Mark Wahlberg is probably abusing her, probably gaslighting her, probably trying to victimize himself to make her love him more than her own family, who have loved her for her whole life, you know? It's fascinating, and it's so well done for the most part. Sometimes it goes more into this over-the-top realm that I like. I think it actually fits the film very well. If you've ever met somebody like the Mark Wahlberg character in this film, I think his name is David, you will realize very quickly, whether you've worked with this person or you've known a family member who's dated somebody like this, you will know how well done this performance is. I think he killed it. I think Mark Wahlberg did so great here, and by the end of the film, you are so invested in how much you hate this guy. He's just great here. The dad, Grissom from CSI, he's phenomenal here. He wants to protect his daughter, Reese Witherspoon. He's one of the first people in the family, aside from the mom and the younger brother, to start to realize that something is different. Reese Witherspoon is acting a little bit more kind of secluded when they have like their first argument. Her and Mark Wahlberg, I mean. And the dad is watching his little girl at the same time trying to grow up, but maybe falling into a trap of, we don't know much about this crazy guy. he assumes that she might be being abused, but what do you do in this situation as a parent? And when I think about it, as somebody who doesn't have a kid or any kind of kid yet, I think about this and I'm like, what would I do in this situation? I think a lot of the stuff people will argue who don't really think about parenthood would probably think that he goes over the top a little too much with how he would handle certain things. Personally, I think he didn't handle it enough, frankly. I would probably get my hands on Mark Wahlberg if I saw some of the things that Grissom sees in this film happening to Reese Witherspoon. And I think if I had to bet, I have not taken the time to do this, if I had to go online and look at reviews of this film, I bet a lot of people would trash Reese Witherspoon, not for her performance, but her character in this movie, calling her dumb, calling her stupid for constantly going back to this guy. But I put it in the perspective, and this is coming from somebody who has not taken the time to look at reviews for that, but I would bet it's there, because you know there's stupid people out there. I'd be willing to bet that I would put my money in the jar of saying she is a 16-year-old. 16-year-olds, you did it, I did it, we all made terrible mistakes. We all did. All of us were assholes at some point in our life. She doesn't know any better. And if I had to argue, she probably hasn't had a real relationship until she meets Mark Wahlberg. Not something super serious like what you're seeing in this film where she's really invested in this guy. She may be even thinking about marriage at some point. But when the red flags start to rise up about him, she kind of is wishy-washy about what to really think, whether she should trust him, give him a second chance, so on and so on. And she's manipulated into doing that by Mark Wahlberg, giving him second chances and third chances and so on and so on. Until she is literally slapped in the face with reality about what's going on, she's not going to get it. But teenagers won't. That's why this film, I think, resonates so well with everybody who watches it. My mom loved this when it came out in the 90s. She always talks about it being one of the best Mark Wahlberg films that she's ever seen. She's probably seen more of them than I have, to be honest with you. And I love it. I think it is so well shot, well directed. It's not really a bloody movie or anything. There is one scene that I think will upset a lot of people if they see this movie. But I'm here for kind of the performances, that teen-centric film that they don't really make anymore. They don't make teen thrillers anymore. And this is a great one that adults can watch, teenagers can watch. And I think it was... it says it's rated R, so I guess it's not as much for teenagers as it should have been. But, dude, this is phenomenal. I love it. I think Reese Witherspoon was fantastic in here. Again, Mark Wahlberg, excellent job. Grissom from CSI, William Peterson himself, amazing job. And even some of the side roles, like the younger brother and the mom, are really good in here. Everything in here is basically practical. The one particular scene that I think will upset a lot of people is a practical effect, and it looks great. It looks really good for this kind of film and the budget they had. They never make these kinds of movies anymore, and like I said, it makes me sad because these were great. These 90s thrillers like this and Panic Room, they just don't make stuff like this or enough with the J-Lo, which I think is one of the best kind of, if you want to argue it, feminist movies ever made. And I don't even usually like that subgenre of film, but that's a badass film, and this is kind of similar to that if you like that kind of thriller. This really hits that satisfying mark if you check it out. So, Fear, starring Mark Wahlberg, the 1996 film. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis for this little hidden horrors review, for me, aside from the one scene of really shitty CGI that I mentioned, just one quick thing, we're talking half a second that it shows up on screen. Aside from that, I love it. From beginning to end, I think it's fantastic. I think the storytelling and the acting is really good. I would give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I recommend it highly. I think if you haven't seen it before, you should. Especially if you're showing it to somebody who doesn't know, maybe somebody who falls into the whole, like, kind of crazy boyfriend thing. If they don't realize what's actually happening, how to spot a red flag, this and the movie Enough with J-Lo, great films to show people, especially younger women, I think, who need to see this kind of thing. Maybe younger men, too. I don't know. But anyway, Fear is a great movie. I recommend it highly. I can't believe people never talk about this movie. I feel like my mom and I are the only people who know about this film. Anyway, so check it out. Let me know what you think about it down in the comment section down below, as well as the other films I reviewed on the Hidden Horrors playlist on my channel. I hope that you'll find some good recommendations there that you can go watch and maybe have a good time this weekend watching some cool stuff. This is a very Awesome little flick, and I recommend it highly, as you can tell. So anyway, have you seen it? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear everything you have to say about Fear. Let me know down below. And again, 5 out of 5 star rating. It deserves it. Aside from very small flaws, it's basically perfect for my taste and what I enjoy. And again, very satisfying if you like this kind of film. Anyway, thank you guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.